Hi, I'm Willie. Welcome to my channel. Thank you for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you. And what we're going to take a look at in this video are three of the gateways that I have either experience with or have been experimenting with. So the TP-Link, just full disclosure here, you're going to see a full setup video. I was in the middle of filming and then found out that Omada 6 has been released, so I'm going back and now when I release that, it will be Omada version 6, which has a ton of updates and features. But this video that we are going to do right now is comparing, and when I started this, I started with the Grandstream GCC6021, and then I tried to find comparable other products to kind of compare these. Now, all three of these gateways that we're going to look at have their pluses and minuses, but you will see kind of where we're at. Now, the GCC6021 has a huge leg up against the Unified Dream Machine Pro Max and the Omada ER8411 because it has so many switch ports built into it, and you're going to see that. So the three that we are going to be comparing are the GCC6021, the Unified Dream Machine Pro Max, and the Omada ER8411. And instead of just boring you by reading the data sheets, I pulled all that information together in a spreadsheet, and I'm going to go over that spreadsheet with you. So what I've got here, and if you're interested in this, and if this information is not correct, let me know down below or reach out somehow. Let me know if I've missed something in this. But what we are doing over here, we've got our features and our specs. We've got the Grandstream GCC6021, the UDM Pro Max, and the TP-Link Omada ER8411. So, out of the gate, we'll come back to that price. But let's take a look. First of all, form factor of all three devices is one, you rack mount. Of course, you can get the little feet that go on the bottom. You could put them on a desk, but they are really meant to be rack mounted. They're all pretty close to the same size, within 80 millimeters as far as depth goes. And this is the GCC is a little bit deeper because it has so many switch ports and things going on. And it's like when we talk about big iron, it feels like big iron. Weight here, you can see 4.2 kilograms on the GCC6021, 4.7 on the UDM Pro Max, and I couldn't find an exact spec, which I probably just missed it somewhere, for the TP-Link Omada. The only device that has a display, like a little LCD or LCM or whatever they want to call it, is the Ubiquiti UDM Pro Max, and you can do things like look at the IP addresses, look at the status, factory default, reboot, all from that little touchscreen. So that is the only device out of the three that has the touchscreen. The CPU in the GCC is a quad core. I couldn't find the gigahertz plus hardware acceleration. The UDM Pro Max is a quad core ARM Cortex A57 at 2 gigahertz, and the TP-Link Omada is a quad core Cortex A72 at 2.2 gigahertz. If I had to guess, the CPU in the Grandstream is probably one of these same two CPUs, or very, very similar. System memory, or your RAM, on the GCC6021, you've got 4 gigs of DDR4 plus 256 megs of DDR3. So it's splitting it up, using those for different features, different software modules in the device. The Ubiquiti UDM Pro Max has 8 gigs, and the TP-Link Omada ER8411 has 4 gigs of DDR4. The onboard storage for the Grandstream GCC6021, we're looking at 32 gigs of eMMC plus 128 megabytes of NAND, and it has an M.2 slot. Same as far as the onboard storage for the Pro Max. We have 32 gigs of eMMC plus 128 gigs SSD integrated, and the TP-Link Omada has no storage that I could find on board. Now, even though the GCC6021 doesn't have a hard drive bay or a built-in NVR, excuse me, it does have that M.2 slot where you can put an M.2 SSD. The UDM Pro Max has two 3.5-inch bays, and you can use that for running Protect and other applications. And the TP-Link Omada does not have any hard drive bays. Now, our next item is RJ45 1 gig switch ports, and the Grandstream GCC6021 has 16, and those 16 are PoE capable. The UDM Pro Max has 8, and the TP-Link Omada has 8. And you can see how I say like LAN and WAN LAN here, because we're getting to that. Now, on the GCC6021, you've got 8 PoE++ 2.5 gigs, so the multi-gig ports. On the UDM Pro Max, you have 1, and there are none on the TP-Link Omada ER8411. There are no just 1 gig SFP ports on the Grandstream GCC6021 or the UDM Pro Max, but there is one 1 gig SFP on the TP-Link Omada. When we come down to SFP Plus ports capable of doing 10 gig, on the GCC6021 we have 4, and the UDM Pro Max has 2, and the TP-Link Omada ER8411 has 2. PoE out, yes, there are 24 ports of PoE on the GCC6021, and neither the UDM Pro Max or the Omada ER8411 have PoE. As far as PoE standards go, the GCC6021 has 8 2.5 gig ports that can do 802.3 AF, AT, or BT, and 16 1 gig ports that can do 802.3 AF or AT. Total PoE budget for the GCC6021 is 370 watts. All right, default WAN ports. On the GCC6021, it is configurable 1 through 5. On the, by default, there are 2. I need to change that. Ubiquiti UDM Pro Max has 2. One of those is the 2.5 gig RJ45 port, and the other one is the 10 gig SFP Plus port. The TP-Link Omada has 2 by default. It actually has port 4 on the Ethernet, so that should actually be 3 there. So I just caught that. But you can also then use the SFP or the SFP Plus port. I need to fix that column there. So it does have 3 and 4. There, we fixed that. Max configurable WAN ports. So the GCC6021, you can have a total of 5 WAN ports. The UDM Pro Max, you can have 8 WAN ports. And the TP-Link Omada, you can have up to 10 WAN ports. USB ports, the GCC6021 has 1, the Pro Max none, and the TP-Link Omada ER8411 has 2. As far as console ports go, the GCC6021 has an RJ45 console port. The UDM Pro Max has no console ports. And the TP-Link Omada ER8411 has an RJ45 console port. Dedicated high availability ports. Now, this doesn't mean that these devices don't have high availability. It's just which ones have dedicated high availability ports. And by default, there are actually 2 dedicated HA ports on the GCC6021. When you do HA or shadow gateway failover with the UDM Pro Max, those ports are then used and selected at that time. The TP-Link Omada ER8411 does not have high availability that I could find. When we look at dedicated management ports, where that's a network port that is a completely different, we usually call that out-of-band management. The GCC6021 has 1, UDM Pro Max none, and the TP-Link Omada, I'll refer to that console port kind of as a management port as well. VRRP or shadow gateway failover, both the GCC6021 and the UDM Pro Max support high availability. The TP-Link Omada does not. Now, redundant power or backup power, the GCC6021 has standard power, but then it also has an RPS DC input that is supported. They have not released the RPS yet that I know of, but they are now starting to build their devices with that in. The Pro Max supports a USP RPS input, so it also has that redundant power. The TP-Link Omada has dual redundant AC power supply units. All right, next thing on our list. We're almost to the end. Routing with NAT throughput. 10 gigabits per second with the GCC. I could not find a number for the Pro Max that was on the official spec sheet, so if somebody knows that, let me know down below. And the TP-Link Omada ER8411 is about 9.95 gigabits per second line rate. Maximum NAT sessions, the GCC6021 is about 320,000. I could not find a number for the UDM Pro Max. Once again, if somebody knows that, let me know down below. And the TP-Link Omada ER8411 is 2.3 million NAT sessions. That's simultaneous NAT sessions. IDS, IPS throughput on the GCC6021, you're looking at, with DPI and IPS enabled, you're looking at about 9 gigabits of throughput. With the UDM Pro Max, you're looking at about 5 gigabits. And with the TP-Link Omada, you're also looking at about 5 gigabits. 5 gigabits. Now, which of these devices support layer 7 firewall or DPI? All 3 of the devices, you can see we've got check marks there. They support all 3. The GCC6021, UDM Pro Max, and ER8411 all support layer 7 firewall DPI. Content filtering. The GCC6021, I actually need to add email filtering on there as well, but it can do DNS, URL, app, GeoIP, and email. The Pro Max can do DNS, URL, app, GeoIP. The TP-Link Omada ER8411 can do DNS, URL, and web group filtering. Like I said, if I'm missing anything, you got to let me know down below, because I looked through these spec sheets and pulled out what I thought I could. As far as antivirus, anti-malware at the gateway, the Grandstream GCC6021 does support that, and it is a VB100 grade A. Neither of the other gateways support that. TLS or SSL inspection or proxy, the GCC6021 does support that. The UDM Pro Max and the TP-Link Omada ER8411 do not. In order to get that TLS inspection, you do have to go to the EFG gateway or the highest end gateways that Ubiquiti has, and the MSRP starting price on those is quite a bit more than the GCC. They're at about $2,000. We'll talk about price again here in a minute. Dynamic routing. The Grandstream GCC6021 supports OSPF, BGP, and RIP. The UDM Pro Max supports OSPF and BGP. It is important to know that if you're using SiteMagic VPN, if you are using that, you cannot set up another area for OSPF. Also, one big difference in the BGP between the UDM Pro Max and the GCC6021 is Grandstream actually has a user interface for you to configure your BGP, and on the Pro Max you have to upload a text file where you've created the config in the text file and then you upload it. Unless they've changed that in the latest version, somebody let me know down below. The TP-Link Omada ER8411 supports OSPF and RIP. QoS. So the Grandstream GCC6021 supports App QoS, VoIP prioritization, and advanced QoS. The Ubiquiti UDM Pro Max supports advanced QoS. And the TP-Link Omada ER8411 supports IP or port-based and guaranteed or limited QoS. IGMP proxy for multicast. Both the GCC6021 and the UDM Pro Max support that. I could not find it on the ER8411. I think I saw something about multicast, so that actually might be a check mark, but somebody let me know down below. SDWAN, software defined WAN. You know, it's really just policy-based routing sometimes, depending on how you do it. So you can do policy-based routing with the GCC6021. If you have site-to-site VPNs, you can actually do dynamic routing, OSPF. So you could do that, which is what the SiteMagic, which is the license-free SD-WAN, and there might be a couple other things with Ubiquiti. But if you have a bunch of, you know, site-to-site VPNs, you could do OSPF and, you know, set some policies and things like that. And then the TP-Link Omada ER8411 supports controller mode SD-WAN. I'm not 100% sure what that is yet, but we're going to dig into that. All right, we are down to VPNs. All three devices support IPsec, site-to-site, and client IPsec VPN. On the throughput for IPsec VPN, the Grandstream GCC6021 coming in at about 1.3 gigabits per second. Couldn't find a good number for the Pro Max, so if somebody knows, let me know down below. And the TP-Link Omada ER8411 comes in at about 2.1 gigabits per second. Now, all three devices also support OpenVPN in server or client mode. OpenVPN throughput, I could not find any numbers on the GCC6021 or the Pro Max that I thought were reliable. If I missed those, let me know down below. TP-Link Omada coming in at about 1.66 gigabits per second on the OpenVPN throughput. All three devices support WireGuard. All three devices support L2TP and PPTP. I really wish we'd stop supporting PPTP. But here we are. And then SSL VPN. Now, I put a dash for the 6021 on this. You can technically, like when we start looking at like what traditional SSL VPN is, you can, with the OpenVPN on the GCC6021, you can actually use certificates. I thought, I shouldn't put that in there. So when you think about a traditional SSL VPN where you're doing things, you know, through the web browser and then it loads a client and it's controlled kind of that way, neither the GCC6021 or the UDM Pro Max have that, but the TP-Link Omada ER8411 does. Now, VPN client support. So what does that mean, right? That means I can install a client VPN and route my traffic from my gateway out through a VPN. So the Grandstream GCC6021 supports WireGuard and OpenVPN. The UDM Pro Max supports OpenVPN, and the Omada supports the Omada ER8411 supports WireGuard and OpenVPN. Another thing that I couldn't find is the tunnel counts for the GCC6021 or the Pro Max. So if somebody has those numbers, let me know down below and we'll fix that. But what TP-Link says about their tunnel counts, they say for IPsec you can have 300 tunnels, OpenVPN 110 tunnels, WireGuard 300 tunnels, and SSL VPN 500 tunnels. Now, obviously, I don't think we could do all of those simultaneously. That would be a pretty big lift for a device like this, but you never know. We might be able to. All right, so let's talk about software-defined networks or controllers. So the GCC6021, you can bind it to GDMS, gdms.cloud. It can be controlled through GWN Manager, which is the on-prem version of GDMS, essentially. Or you can manage it through its local user interface or the command line. The UDM Pro Max runs Unify OS, and on top of Unify OS, besides network, which has to always run, you can also elect to run Protect, Access, Talk, and Connect. So you get the full suite of Ubiquiti software with the Pro Max, and it's like that with most Unify cloud gateways. For the TP-Link Omada ER8411, now you can run this device in standalone. It does not have to be adopted to a controller. So I need to put local UI CLI there. Or you can manage it with the Omada software-defined network, and you can either buy the hardware, which is what I have here. You can download it and install it yourself, or you can use the TP-Link cloud. Obviously, you can also manage this device locally. All right, so number 48 is the Max Managed Devices and Clients. So this is coming obviously from the manufacturer spec. And for the Grandstream GCC6021, we can manage up to 300 subordinate GWN devices, and it supports about 1,000 clients. On the UDM Pro Max, you can manage 200 plus unified devices, and they say it's rated for about 2,000 clients. I could not find a good number for the ER8411. If somebody knows, let me know down below. Now, one of the things that set two of these gateways aside from everybody else in the market is that you can run other things on them besides gateway and router services. So the GCC6021 comes with a Grandstream UCM built in. So by default, you get 50 extensions and 16 simultaneous calls. That can be upgraded. The UDM Pro Max supports Unify Talk, which is the Unify software PBX. You can install it at no charge, just like the built-in PBX comes at no charge on the GCC. The Omada ER8411 does not have a PBX. All right, other unified communications features. The GCC6021 supports audio and video conferencing, Wave apps, so the soft client and SIP provisioning. The UDM Pro Max works a little bit different with Unify Talk than a Grandstream UCM. So if you're going to do, anything with an app, it's a little bit different. This is all provided at no charge and can be deployed directly from the device. To use some of the cool apps and stuff with Ubiquiti, it takes a little bit of a different route. And of course, the TP-Link Omada doesn't support that at all. Official certifications, they are all FCC certified CE. You can see they've all got different certifications down here. Operating temperatures. So I did this in Celsius. I'm trying to figure out a quick way. If you know a quick way, let me know down in the comments of how to convert Celsius to freedom units in your head. Once again, these were pulled directly from the manufacturer spec. Some of them did have Fahrenheit, but most of the world at this point is using, Celsius, so that's what I went with. Operating temperature for the GCC6021 is 0 to 45 degrees Celsius. The UDM Pro Max is -10 to 40 degrees Celsius, and the Omada ER8411 is 0 to 40 degrees Celsius. You can probably run these a little cooler. Your mileage may vary. You may void any type of support if you run these outside of recommended operating temperature and humidity. So you can see that both the GCC6021 and the UDM Pro Max, as far as operating humidity goes, is 5 to 95% non-condensing, and the ER8411 is 10 to 90% non-condensing. Warranty out of the gate with the Grandstream GCC6021, you get a 3-year warranty out of the gate. With the UDM Pro Max, you get 2 years out of the gate if you buy from Ubiquiti, 1 year via reseller. You can extend both of these with UI Care. And TP-Link has a limited lifetime warranty on their device. So did I miss anything that you want to know about these? The price, right? So street price or MSRP. So the Grandstream GCC6021 is coming in at $613 from IP Phone Warehouse. From the Ubiquiti store, you can get the UDM Pro Max with no hard drives for $599 USDs. And the TP-Link Omada ER8411 can be had for about $399.99 USDs. I mean, this gives us a good idea. You know, I don't know where you're at in your decision-making process, but we don't live in a one-size-fits-all world, right? So depending on what the customer needs, depending on what the user needs, it may change what you go with as far as a gateway and a company goes. I mean, you could tell me now you're going to deploy, Juniper or Cisco or trying to think who else has a gateway. Fortinet, SonicWall. For switching, you could do Arista, Extreme. The list goes on and on and on, right? I said all that to say it's not a one-size-fits-all world. We do support all of these. I'm digging more into this ER8411. But if you've got any questions about this, if I left anything out, if you caught where I had something not filled in that should have been filled in, let me know down below. I will let this video come out. You should see this on Monday, November 3rd is the day you should be seeing this. So I'll let this video come out. I'll let people tell me what specs I missed down in the comments. I'll update this spreadsheet, turn it into a Google spreadsheet, and then I will share it with the world. And I'll do like a quick video to say that it's out there. But if you've got any questions, if I didn't cover anything, let me know down below. Let me know which of these you would use. Let me know how happy you are with them. And if you've got any questions, you can post those down below. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, comment, and share. Follow me on Twitter and TikTok. Those links are down below, along with affiliate links, a Patreon link. And if you need IT consulting, if you need to make sure your network is up to date, or you want somebody to get a second set of eyes on it to make sure the configuration is correct, or you're going to build a new network in a new facility, or whatever the case may be, we can help you with that. And if you need voice over IP, wired or wireless networking, storage, security, all those things, head on over to williehowe.com, fill out the contact form, and someone will be in touch with you as soon as possible. Come on over to community.williehowe.com and join the conversation. Once again, I'm Willie. I want to thank you for being here. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.